Welcome to economics. This is economics 1.1, the basics, or the fundamentals of economics. In class today, we went through a little exercise. Assuming that you won $10 million, you were a very lucky person, what were the first 3 things that you would spend the money on? We did a little activity with this to see what you want, what you need, what you're willing to give up. Considering that you have to spend that money to get something, you're giving up some money, or you're giving up time. Now, what do these things have to do with what we're going to study in economics? Economics is not just about money. Economics is actually about choices. It's the study of choices. The choices from the smallest ones, for example, what did you decide to wear to school today, to the big ones. Who does the government decide to give military contracts to? Or which country should we assist with international aid? Economists have all sorts of different jobs, but at the heart of it all, they create models and make assumptions to explain the choices that we make as human beings. At the heart of economics, the basic tenet of economics is this concept of scarcity. This is how economics is the study of how society manages this concept of scarcity. What is scarcity? It's not that hard to figure out. It's unlimited resources with unlimited wants. So if you think about what's scarce in your world, you could probably come up with a fairly long list, some of those being sleep, time, money. Your list could go on and on. For example, my dog Finn, what would be scarce in her world? Bones. She doesn't get them all the time, they're a special treat, so she decides to hoard them and hide them in little places all around the house. What else is scarce in your world? Probably gas money. Gas in general, or oil, is scarce in the world. There's an unlimited amount, there's a limited amount of it, but there's a relatively unlimited want for oil in the world. If you were a lover of Twinkies, when Twinkies disappeared from the market for a period of time last winter, in conjunction with the end of the world Mayan prediction, many people went crazy and started spending $50 on Twinkies on eBay. That's the concept of scarcity. We'll get back to that time and time again. So because we have this scarcity in our world, whether it be time or money or cute clothes, we have to make choices. So really, choices is the focus of economics, but choices comes because of scarcity. The choices of individuals, families, governments, and societies, and choices are made based on goals. So what is your goal? What is your goal in going home at night and getting something out of the refrigerator? What's your choice? Do you choose the healthy meal that your mom told you should eat, or do you take out the Totino's pizza or the Hot Pocket? Choices. This is what economists study. Finn does this all the time. She chooses to either sit when I ask her to and she gets what she wants, or she doesn't sit and she doesn't get what she wants. Everything has a cost. That's the basic idea behind this. Trade-offs. When you choose, you make a trade-off. When you choose the Hot Pocket over the healthy meal that your mom told you should eat, you are making a trade-off. For example, the trade-off here is the parent doesn't have a high-paying job, but they're an artist, and that trade-off was worth it for them. Their kid doesn't look so sure. When you make a trade-off, you're trading one thing for another. Do you study? Do you work? Do you hang out with friends? What do you do with your evening? Should the government spend money on defense, or should they spend money on welfare? Assuming that they have limited resources, the government has a limited amount of money, and they choose welfare, defense could suffer. Vice versa. Your choice and the trade-off depends on your goal. So whatever you chose, because of the scarcity and the trade-off you make, all depends on your goal. Because we live in a scarce world, we are forced to make choices which force us to have trade-offs in our life, and how we measure that trade-off is by looking at the opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is whatever must be given up to obtain something else. So if we take the example of LeBron James, plays for the Miami Heat, used to play for Cleveland, he gained an NBA title. Maybe he has more than one, I'm not really sure, not that into sports. But what did he give up? He gave up a college education at the age-appropriate time that most people would go for a college education, between 18 and 22. Okay? So the opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative. So his choice was, does he play pro ball or does he play college ball? Those were his choices, his alternatives. He traded one for the other, and what he was really trading between pro ball or college ball was the opportunity cost. That opportunity cost was a free education. Now, yes, LeBron James could probably afford to go to any school that he could get into now. However, it is not a guarantee that he would be successful as a professional athlete. He could get hurt. Perhaps something else would happen. Most athletes recognize the opportunity cost of choosing pro versus college is very high, so many decide to get the education first because the benefit that professional sports brings isn't worth the cost, whether it's an opportunity cost or whether it's a monetary or money cost. That's why college sports is so prolific, and then people go into the professional teams. So again, just a quick review, opportunity cost is the highest valued next best alternative that must be sacrificed to obtain something. Why do we do this? Why do we have opportunity costs? Why do we sacrifice, make trade-offs, make choices? Because incentives matter. Incentives get you to act. Okay? Incentives really sell you on getting something. So for example, there was probably a point in time when your mom could say, I'll give you a cookie if you'll do this. Your cookie was the incentive. LeBron James' incentive for playing pro ball versus college ball, I'm not sure exactly what that is. It could be the trophy, it could be the money, it could be the fame and the fortune. I don't know. For my nephews, the incentive this day for getting in the car and buckling up was that they got to go to Dairy Queen after being at the pool. So incentives matter, whether you're LeBron James or my 6-year-old nephew who just wants a Blizzard. A little bit more in-depth look at choices. We must make choices. We make choices using what's called marginal analysis, which is basically just a fancy way of saying thinking on the edge. We make decisions based on the change it makes. So the difference between one Oreo and a whole bag of Oreos is a pretty big gap. After you eat 3 Oreos, you marginally analyze or you marginally think through the situation and say, is the 4th Oreo good for me or is it not? Because the 4th Oreo probably doesn't taste quite as delicious as the 1st Oreo. That's marginal analysis. More on that later. Now, when we make choices, sometimes economists, like I said before, make models to explain how people make choices, explain how decisions are made, etc. So in a model of choices, we come up with 5 very specific criteria. We have to identify the problem, identify the alternatives, identify the criteria, what's important in making the decision, evaluate the different criteria based on the alternatives, and then finally make the decision. In our class, we used this PACED model, that's what the PACED stands for, to create a decision-making matrix. So on the left-hand side goes your alternatives, and on the top goes your criteria, depending upon what's important to you. In making decisions, we can use a matrix called the PACED model, based on the previous slide, to make sense of our decision-making process. So we can think about the alternatives, the criteria, evaluate them, and then make a decision. So let's say our problem is what to do with the weekend. Okay? Your alternatives. You could stay home and study all weekend. So these are your options. You could go to the cabin. You could work, we'll say 20 hours, or you could simply sleep and watch whatever your favorite TV show is. Some pretty good options for you over the weekend. Let's look at your criteria. What's important to you in a weekend? Okay? Let's say that you need to relax. That's important to you. Let's say that you need to, your criteria is also to spend time outside. You really don't like to be away from people, so you want to socialize, to be social. And let's say you also want to make some money. So then you go through, now that we've identified the problem, which is the weekend, what do we do with the weekend? We've looked at alternatives, so these are the different choices that can be made, and these are the criteria. What's important to you? So now you can go through and evaluate. Is studying relaxing? No. Studying allow you to spend time outside? Maybe. Does studying allow you to be social? Maybe, depending upon if you have a study group. I'm guessing studying doesn't make you a whole lot of money. You can go through all of the other ones and see what fits for you. And so what you do with the E, the evaluation part, is you evaluate these options in here. Once you choose one, you will have made your decision. So let's say you go through this and you decide that the most important thing to you is to work for 20 hours because you would like to make money. You work with your friends. Let's say you have a job that you work outside, perhaps you mow lawns, and you find lawn mowers fairly relaxing, so you decide to spend 20 hours working. The PACE model shows you simply one of the models that economists use in understanding behaviors and choices made by people. That's the end.